Hello everyone, it's Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and it's time for another Against the Odds. So, as you probably know, Amonkhet released on Magic Online yesterday, 2 days ago, so that means we get to start playing with some sweet new Amonkhet cards, and I debated what we were going to do for our special episode. There was a couple really sweet options, and I should say those options are on the All Amonkhet poll, which is with this week's episode, so follow the link in the description to the article, vote for what Amonkhet card we should play next. But in the end, I decided we had to go with Gideon Tribal, Gideon.Gideon.Gideon.deck in Modern, and oh man, I'm glad we did, because this deck is super sweet. So how good is a deck that just plays Gideon into Gideon into Gideon? Well, we're going to figure it out. So a quick reminder before we break down Gideon Tribal for Modern. If you enjoy this deck and you enjoy Against the Odds in general, it would be amazing of you if you could take a quick second, click that subscribe button down in the corner of your screen. It's a great way to support the channel and the site for free. So let's talk Gideon Tribal. And of course, the reason we are playing this deck is Gideon of the Trials, the new Gideon from Amonkhet. And this card seems really good for Modern, so it kind of keeps itself alive against one threat by preventing the damage of a permanent. So our opponent has a Tarmogoyf, feed plus, don't take damage from the Tarmogoyf. It turns into a 4/4 beater that's indestructible, and you can't really damage it. And then the big payoff is you get the Platinum Angel emblem. Basically, if we have a worship, we can't lose a game, our opponent can't win the game. So a lot of times we just play Gideon, zero Gideon, do some other stuff with Gideon for as long as we can. Eventually, we upgrade our Gideon from Gideon of the Trials to bigger Gideons, and with the emblem out, that works with any Gideon, so we get Gideons that have more loyalty, and it makes it really hard for our opponent to kill us through the emblem. Plus, the other Gideons are really big attackers. One of the things I love about the Gideons is kind of the symmetry of the Gideon. So, Gideon of the Trials, 3 mana, turns into a 4/4. Gideon Ally of Zendikar, 4 mana, turns into an indestructible 5/5. Gideon Jura, 5 mana, indestructible 6/6. Next out, we probably get 6 mana Gideon that turns into an indestructible 7/7, or maybe a 15 mana Gideon that turns into a 16/16. Who knows? But we have a nice symmetry of Gideons, and basically the plan of the deck is to get the emblem down for protection, and then just use our Gideons to win the game, most likely by attacking, but they can pump up our creatures. Ally of Zendikar makes tokens. Gideon Jura makes it really hard for us to die because our opponent has to attack us, and then we can beat down with other stuff. So these cards are kind of the reason we're playing the deck. The Gideon package is what this deck's all about, but we do have some support cards as well. So we have Heart of Kirin, because it kind of combos with Gideon. One of our nut draws, I guess, is play something on turn 1, like a discard spell. On turn 2, we Heart of Kirin. Turn 3, we can Gideon of the Trials, 0 Gideon of the Trials to get the emblem, remove a counter from Gideon of the Trials to attack for 4. Then the next turn, we can remove another counter, attack with Gideon as well, attack for 8. We just beat our opponent down super quickly with this package. We also have Oath of Gideon to get a little bit extra loyalty, and this kind of leads us into another plan of our deck, and that is kind of a token sub-theme. So Oath of Gideon makes a couple of core ally tokens, also gives our Gideons an extra loyalty, which is pretty nice with the Gideon of the Trials emblem, because losing all their loyalty is how our opponent kills our Gideon and how they kill us through the emblem. So the more loyalty, the better in our deck. As far as the token package, Oath of Gideon makes tokens, Anointed Procession, just a 1-of, but it doubles our tokens, and then we have Lingering Souls, which is kind of our backup plan for winning by just beating down with flyers. If we have an Anointed Procession out, it makes 8 1/1 flyers for only 5 mana. Plus, the Lingering Souls tokens, the Oath of Gideon tokens, are really good at defending our Gideons, so as we're making tokens and killing stuff and beating down with our Gideons, we can just kind of chump block our opponent's threats, stay alive long enough to kill our opponent with our Gideons with the help of all our token generators. The rest of the deck is mostly stuff to play in the early game. The thing with our Gideons is they don't really start doing stuff until turn 3. Turn 3, turn 4, turn 5, we have Gideons. Turn 2, maybe Heart of Kirin. But turn 1, we kind of have an open slot on our curve. So Inquisition, Thoughtseize, we get to take something that could kill one of our Gideons, disrupt our Gideon plan from our opponent's hand. Abrupt Decay can kill Gideon of the trials, Maelstrom Pulse, things like that, stuff that can beat down our Gideon perhaps. And then we have some removal too, so Path and Fatal Push, again, stuff we can do on turn 1 and turn 2 while we're waiting to get our Gideons online. And Wrath of God, just kind of a catch-all to sweep away a board of things that could kill our Gideons. As far as the mana base, Shambling Vet, Wespelavi, protect our Gideons. They can make creatures turn into creatures to block for our Gideons. Windbrisk Heights helps us find more Gideons. We attack with a bunch of Lingering Souls tokens. If we have a Gideon exiled under a Windbrisk Heights, we get to cast it for just 1 mana. Vault of the Archangels gives our Gideons lifelink and death touch, so they gain us a bunch of life, and being indestructible, we can slam them into kind of any board, which helps us gain life against aggressive decks to make sure that we don't die. Then we just have normal mana fixing, making sure we have the right colors of mana to cast our Gideons, some basic lands so we can cast our Gideons through a Blood Moon, and a Ghost Quarter for Tron. In the sideboard, we have more Gideons. Kytheon, Hero of Akros. I guess if our opponent sideboards out all of their removal, we can bring it in Savannah Lions. The problem with Kytheon is we can't really control the flipping, so if we attack with a Kytheon and let's say 2 Lingering Souls tokens, we might have a good Gideon on the battlefield. Kytheon's going to flip whether we want it to or not, and then we're going to Legend Rule one of our Gideons, so that means either our Kytheon's just going to suicide itself by attacking, or we're going to have to give up a good Gideon for the Kytheon Gideon, which isn't ideal either. Gideon Champion of Justice, though, is super sweet in certain matchups. It's not in the main deck because it's horrible in non-creature matchups, but if we run into a Soul Sisters deck, a Tokens deck, it gains so much loyalty that if we can get a Gideon of the Trials emblem on the battlefield, it's going to be really, really hard for our opponent to kill us through a Gideon Champion of Justice because we just get so much loyalty. And then Gideon's Intervention gives us a Gideon card that's good against combo, a way to stop our opponent from conflagrating us, from lightning storming us, stuff like that. The rest of our sideboard, not really Gideon-centric. Rest in Peace for Graveyard, Stony Silence for Artifacts, Affinity decks, Tron decks, Fulminator Mage, mostly for Tron, also creature lands. Leyline of Sanctity is very good at protecting our Gideons, so it helps against discard, so our opponent can't just Thoughtseize our Gideons, which is important with tons of people playing Death Shadow decks with like tons of Thoughtseizes and Inquisitions. Also make sure our opponent can't kill our Gideons with burn spells, because they can't target us and redirect to the Gideons, so it is for protecting our Gideons, also for keeping us alive in combo matchups like Storm. But these cards really are one of the benefits of playing Gideon Tribal or Gideon deck is you get to play all the great white sideboard cards, and one of the best reasons to be a white deck in Modern is you get access to these sideboard cards, and being in black you get Fulminator Mage as well, so you get to play a lot of really good cards, and that is Gideon Tribal for Modern, and that's our Against the Odds deck for this week. So I don't know what to make of this deck. Gideons are powerful. We have a lot of good cards. 10 Gideons is many to have in a deck, so we will see if this actually works. I'm hopeful that in some matchups we can get free Gideon wins. I think there's a minority of decks in Modern that are really going to struggle to beat the emblem, maybe get some free wins from our opponent not being familiar with Gideon of the Trials yet. It's brand new on Magic Online, so people probably aren't expecting Gideon emblem, so maybe some free value there as well, but I'm excited to give it a try. Beat down with some Gideons, make some tokens with some Gideons, some emblems with some Gideons. It looks like a lot of fun. So anyway, let's get to the gameplay videos. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, take a second and click that like button down below. It's a great way to help support the channel for free. And you can find the next video in the playlist right here.